Did you get a lot of that after Saturday Night Live? A lot of cookie liberals coming your way?
Uh, yeah, that's a good transition.
That monologue was great.
No, yeah. Well, I got a lot of blowback, as I knew I would, because
he told the truth.
well, yeah, it's just that you don't want to say anything negative about vaccines, which I didn't. What I was talking about in that monologue was really about profiteering.
Yeah.
Okay, and so World War II, necessary. Everyone could say that was a necessary war. Let's say that this war on microbes was a necessary war, right? Why is anyone profiteering?
Yes.
Why did Pfizer get to make $100 billion in 2021?
Right.
Anyway,
Why did the government profit off of it? Why did
the profiteering of war is just wrong. Like, okay, if you say that it has to be, there's conflicts happening right now I disagree with, but I'm wondering, why are people making money off of it? No, even if you think you have a legitimate vantage point from the other side of it, why does someone get to make so much freaking money off of it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's the dirtiest aspect of human beings.
Well,
It's a way to profiteer off everything.
Yeah.
Everything and anything, even if it's just, and they'll prolong just things in order to make more profit.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you know that, Richard Nixon knew it was imperative that the war continue, the Vietnam War, back before he got elected,
Yeah.
He didn't want that to get settled.
Yeah.
And there's a great phone call. I don't know if you've listened to any of Johnson's phone calls. Lyndon Johnson.
What phone call?
There was a phone call he had with Nixon, saying, "Hey man, you're going against the peace," because he was trying to get a peace to go before the '68 election, right? Which he eventually just bailed out of anyway, because he could see he was going to lose it. Johnson. I don't, maybe you haven't.
No, I've never heard that conversation between Nixon and
It's an incredible conversation, and Nixon's like, "Oh, I wouldn't do that. I would never, And of course, he was doing that. He was subverting the peace process, in the same way that they wanted to make sure Carter didn't get those, those guys released in Iran.
Yeah. I always wondered about the Vietnam War, how much of it was about heroin. 3 days before 1968 presidential election, President Johnson contacted Senate Majority Leader Everett M. Dirksen to inform him the White House had received hard evidence from the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The campaign of Republican presidential candidate Richard M. Dick Nixon was interfering with Johnson's effort to start peace talks to end the Vietnam War. In this call, Johnson referred to contacts between Nixon's campaign and South Vietnamese President Nguyen Van Thi, I don't know how to say his name, urged that they thwart any such negotiations.
Yeah, and that did happen. And also, they definitely, Bush, the senior Bush, George Bush Sr., he met with the leaders of the Iranian, what you call it, the party, whatever, before the election, but the fight between Carter and Reagan, and insisted they needed to not be letting those hostages go.
Right.
And so I met Carter in Austin, or rather in Atlanta, I don't know, 3 years ago, right? It's very exciting for me because I've always been a big fan of Carter. I think he's the best president in my lifetime. And I talked to Carter, and he was like, and I sat to him, I'm sitting there, I'm thinking to myself, is there a better time to ask? When am I going to have another time?
Right.
And so that was known as the October Surprise, right?
Right.
That Bush met with those guys. Anyway, I just said, I'm going to ask him. I said, well, I just wonder, is there any truth to the October Surprise. And he looks at me like, he hadn't heard this question lately, right? And he looks at me and he goes, well, I never talked about this publicly, but we did still have people in the White House after we left, who were there during the Reagan administration. And they confirmed it was true.
Yeah, of course it was true. It was too obvious. The hostages get released right after Reagan gets elected.
Yeah, they released them on the day he took off.
Yeah. Ridiculous. It's kind of disgusting.
Very disgusting.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't want to be one to talk ill of American government.